Another kind of concern is, that you bring up is how would you do leadership and basically punishment of those who basically do initiate force, which the liberty doesn't really cover, philosophy of liberty doesn't really cover, but it's a practical issue. As far as leadership, anarchy also answers that question, because there's nothing in anarchy that restricts leadership. In fact, it's a common kind of misconception is that anarchy is without any kind of form of leadership, when that is not really strictly a restriction. People are natural leaders. Some people have natural leadership abilities, and some people have a tendency to follow people with vision and ability. It's very kind of a human nature thing. So you wouldn't actually restrict leadership. You would still be able to form large public community bodies with community projects in mind. It would just strictly be voluntary under an anarchical system. So as far as imprisonment and everything like that, I actually believe that a change of government would also require a change in punishment for those who initiate force. I actually don't believe in long-term imprisonment, and I think in a lot of ways it's more cruel than execution, because an execution would take place right then and you'd steal their future, their life, while in a imprisonment long-term you end up subjugating that person's future life and kind of the productivity of that for many years and years and years and years. In other words, they're forced into slavery rather than death. And then it comes down to whether or not you value what would you rather be, enslaved or dead? Give me liberty or give me death, that kind of idea. So I personally don't believe in or long-term imprisonment. I feel that it's more cruel punishment than execution in many ways, or even like lashes, or you steal, chop your hand off. That's very kind of a brutal punishment system, the whole chopping the hand off. But in a lot of ways, I think it actually has a lot more ethical basis. So, as I put it out, I'm not quite yet an anarchist. Anarchism is an idealized form of government, and I don't yet know whether it's practical. In other words, democracy is proved as a practical government in fighting tyranny and corruption, but it's susceptible just like the rest of them, and the philosophy of liberty, can't really exist in a democracy. But with anarchy, it's an idealistic philosophy. It's an idealized form of government. We don't actually have a lot of examples where anarchy has been put to the full test as a government. But there is actually a very good practical example of where anarchist ideas have taken form, and that is the internet. There is no rules or regulation that limits how you use the internet. In other words, we all kind of conform to the hypertext protocol, but that's because we realize that it's efficient and easy to use. It's already a system put in place, but you can use FTP protocols, you can do different printer and filing sharing networking. There's no restriction on how you use the internet, but there is a conformity. And even when you go and you use a website, there is no necessarily protocol on the fact that you have to set up your website a certain way, but people do kind of conform to a system of visualization. For an artistic website you'll go to, they usually have a flash player that sets you up into a theme, whereas if you go to an information site, there's a set of labels that will try to link you as quickly to where you want to go as possible. In fact, there's actually no regulations that say that you can't put up child pornography on the internet. It's only happens to fall into the purview of countries. In other words, the United States and Britain, it's illegal to put up Chinese pornography, or sorry, not Chinese pornography, but child pornography. But the internet actually is an anarchical system, and we've conformed because it's easier, efficient to use. What this means is that we have child pornography, we have people who prey upon our children, We have an exposure to the most violent sorts of communication and acts. We allow people to fight against our property and invade our bank systems and take our personal information and lose our identity. And we have all of these problems on the internet, but that is because it is an anarchical system. It really mirrors a true reflection of human nature, both evil and good, both in its disturbing, violent reality and also in its wondrous potential and information. We have the internet, and we're not going to go back. We have the freedom of the anarchical system, and we don't want to go back. So in a lot of ways, we already have an example of a human community system that's operating on an anarchical principle that is succeeding and being productive, and also, you know, really invading people's lives with the amount of freedom and capabilities that it provides. So it is a practical example. A government would be different. I'm not saying that there isn't obstacles, but I hope that, you know, such an illustration addresses the practicality issues with the philosophy of liberty, because it is something that has the potential to be implemented. So thank you for adding your concerns, and I hope that you know, this is able to help you with your critical analysis of the philosophy of liberty.